What's up, Nowstalgia? Dave here with a review of Pluribus Season 1 on Apple TV+, the new Vince Gilligan series. His follow-up to Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul has concluded its first season. It will be back. It has been officially renewed by Apple, which really comes as no surprise given how much hype was laid upon this series. Of course, Vince Gilligan's status as a Golden Age TV showrunner legend at this point. And of course, there was a lot of just baked in hype for this show because of the secrecy regarding its logline. Its subject matter was really not shared at all. And I think the excitement around that first episode of Pluribus coming out was really palpable just because you didn't really know what to expect. And then when that first episode went really well and really surprised in terms of what you saw, a lot of people, I think, just really got on board with the show. Pluribus Season 1 really impressed me for what kind of show it ended up being. Despite immediately introducing a science fiction dystopia where the majority of the world's population has been consumed by this alien hive mind, thus changing the world as we know it, the show has never been about uncovering the mysteries of this world. Pluribus succeeds because of Rhea Seehorn's central performance where she carries everything on this show, and she's asked to do so much because this is a series about grief and loneliness and seeking companionship. And when you have Rhea Seehorn playing Carol as this incredibly lonely person who really struggles to connect with people and is just completely at odds with how global society has drastically changed, it just makes for really dramatic stuff. And when you have Vince Gilligan at the helm with this efficient and gorgeous filmmaking style, very reminiscent of Breaking Bad, and really impeccable scripts that take their time. The show is paced at a very precise level. We sit with scenes. We watch them play out. We watch Carol really go through these things. It's just operating at a very sophisticated level. And the central mystery, the core sci-fi of it all that really exists in episodes 1 and the finale is enough to still keep the show exciting, even if it's not really the core focus of what Pluribus is trying to do. And I think right away, what I most liked about the sci-fi of all that mystery, right? And again, we learn about it immediately in episode 1, and it's the central focus of the plot of the show, even if I think, story-wise is not really the main concern. Seeing these new alien creatures inhabit humans and the way they have their own society and their own means, and Carol's obsession with learning about what they are and her aversion to how they act, right? They won't kill an animal, they won't kill a plant. Thus, as a result, they have no choice but to eat dead human remains as a way to survive. I think the introduction of that in episode 5, Got Milk, we learned about was HDP, human derived protein, and you get that John Cena PSA. Stuff like that, I think, is just really fun. It makes the world feel so rich, but just seeing the collectivism of this hive mind that now possesses the globe, and a lot of those things are well-intentioned, right? They all live in large buildings that conserve heating energy and conserve resources in general, right? They have a lot of good ideas in that regard. And Carol's unwillingness to really accept some elements of that, which is understandable, of course, and I think you can interpret what Pluribus is trying to say as a comment on how the internet works, or more specifically artificial intelligence. I think you can interpret things many different ways. But Carol's inability to come to grips with what's happening is in stark contrast to the few people elsewhere on the globe that she meets early on that are in her same predicament, for whatever reason, have not formed up in this hive mind, but they are a lot more at ease with what it is. And we primarily see that through Diabate, who is definitely enjoying the finer things as he can, living in Las Vegas and enjoying this new paradigm shift in the world that I think he very wisely points out in the beginning is now a world without wars, now a world without racism, things like that. I think it was really cool in episode 6 when Carol goes and actually sees him in Las Vegas, and Diabate is doing like a Casino Royale simulation with all the hive-minded folks around him. I like that scene. In general, I think the relationship between Carol and Zosha, who's played expertly by Carolina Widra, how that relationship, and it starts off as relationships in heavy air quotes, as Carol has an aversion to any kind of connection with these people, how that progresses when Carol's loneliness and need for any kind of connection, even if it's with people she has a uneasiness with that kind of subsumes her in the second half of the season. I think the Zosha performance from Carolina Huidra is really finely tuned, and it's a great. I think the writing, the script really exemplifies like the intricacies of how these hive-minded people think and act and process information. And I think the chemistry between Rhea Seehorn and Huidra is really great. And Pluribus has a really smart way of keeping some tension, right? You're always waiting for the other shoe to drop with these people who, again, are nonviolent and have altruistic aspirations for their society, even if, of course, there was no consent in the beginning to join this hive mind. You're always waiting for another shoe to drop, and the introduction of the human remains when Carol discovers that at the end of episode, was it episode 5 or 4? End of episode 5. That's almost like a fake cliffhanger. It's not actually something, right? Diabate kind of like hand waves. He's like, yeah, I already knew about that, and I already knew about that because I actually can talk to these people, and you're just kind of mean and bristly the whole time, right? I loved how that was set up as like kind of like a fake out in terms of it being actually that dramatic. But you always expected something to change, right? Something more real, more sinister to happen. And we finally get to that point in a sense with the finale. And of course that leads us to the core like secondary thread of Pluribus, which is of course Mancuso's arc in Paraguay, where he is very similar to Carol in terms of trying to be completely isolated from these people and wanting nothing to do with them. And he actually has taken it to a farther extreme than Carol has, as he won't even interact with them, or he'll refuse care when he's injured. I think the episode where he begins his long journey north across South America to reach Carol all the way up in New Mexico, I think that's really cool. And seeing him approach the Darien Pass, right? Of course, famously a very dangerous section in migrant journeys entering into Central America. Actually seeing that in this show and seeing the belongings left behind in this world, of course, that no longer has a desire to use that. I think that was really harrowing. And him and Carol finally meeting and being that spark, you could tell at the end of the penultimate episode that Zosha was concerned about that, right? So ultimately, I'm just really impressed with how specific this show is because of its emotional and story concerns, and how expertly it renders all of that with excellent scripts and production design and the acting, right? And that's nothing surprising for a Gilligan show. But all that, I think, it's just so great that all that's there. And you still have really intriguing sci-fi stuff as well, even if that's not the primary focus. It's not determining answers to the mystery is not what this show is about. And that would almost feel a little beneath someone of Gilligan's talents. There's just broader ambitions with this. And we're going to take our time, right? Because Carol's taking her time to process these things and come to her own conclusions. And us as the audience, we're going to be along for that whole journey. And I think one of the best ways they exemplify that is making us listen to the hive mind voicemail when they left her and didn't want to talk to her for a while. And we listened to that voicemail in full every time with Carol. And us as the audience, we have to sit there and listen to it every single time she calls up to ask for something, to be delivered to her or whatever. I thought that was a really great choice because it makes us experience that isolation and that monotony in the same way Carol was, right? Also really cool, that voicemail voice was none other than Patrick Fabian, aka Howard from Better Call Saul. Nice callback there. But yeah, shout out Pluribus. Very excited to see the second season, which I don't believe has been in production yet. Maybe I'm wrong on that, so it's not going to come out next year. But I'd expect this to get a ton of Emmy attention. And maybe this will finally be the show that Rhea Seehorn gets the coronation for, right? Because her performance is just so absolutely superb. And of course, she was superb on Better Call Saul, and she never truly got the accolades she deserved. But I think Pluribus, for whatever reason, is going to have more eyes on it. And maybe Seehorn's true tour de force, hard carry of this show will be more recognized. We'll see, obviously, next year. But let me know, what'd you think of Pluribus? Are you connecting with the emotional beats of this show? Are you frustrated with that slow pacing? Are you more interested in the pure plot of that mystery? Let me know where you're at with Pluribus. And for more TV reviews, subscribe. And I'll see you next time.